Hi, and welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This is another real estate market update from around the country and in your town. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. Booksgrowbusiness.com is the place where professionals and entrepreneurs publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this call, we're visiting the real estate market of Palm Springs, California. And joining me is Betty Kerr. She's a real estate agent with Remax One in Palm Springs. Betty, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So Betty, tell us a little bit about your business and the type of folks that you specialize in helping.
Well, I'm kind of a different agent than some. A lot of agents, they focus on a certain type of buyer, but I kind of have a mixed. I help a lot of the high ends, like I sell $1-2 million homes, but then I'll turn around and sell somebody that calls me and says, hey, I can't get an agent to help my friend because she's looking to buy a $150,000 house. Do you know anyone that can help them? And of course I'm going to help them, because sometimes you have to think it's not about the commission you're earning, it's about helping that person. So I try to focus, of course, on a lot of the higher end, but if somebody calls me and needs to buy a $100,000-$200,000 house, I'm very grateful that they come to me and for me for business.
So let's just jump right into the elephant in the room. The big question on people's minds today is this pandemic. How has this affected the real estate market in Palm Springs? What happened to that market during the shutdown?
Well, look, here's what's really going on. At first, when COVID first started, it was a real shock. I think it was a shock to everyone. And when it was first announced, I kept working. I kept selling houses, and a lot of agents stopped working, and many sellers stopped listing their homes because they didn't want people in their houses, which I completely understand. The market at first did slow down naturally, but then our government, they don't want to have a depression. They don't want to see a depression at all. So the Federal Reserve, they use their tools, and their tools were to lower the interest rates. And so we were looking at fixed rate mortgages under 3%. Yes, I did say 3%, and what that did, that drove the demand up for buyers to go out and look for homes.
So it was successful in driving some demand and some activity in the market. Tell me about inventory then. How were sellers responding to that market?
Well, lowering the interest rate, what that did, that drove the demand up for buyers to buy a home. But then now supply and demand kicks in. So we don't have as many sellers or homes on the market. And in turn, that creates a little imbalance in our market. And it creates what we call in our lingo a seller's market. So it's not unusual. Right now, when I list a home, I may receive, Mark, as many as 5, 6, 7, or even 8 offers on it over the list price substantially.
Wow. So Betty, how do you feel this is going to play out? What's your opinion? Is this poised to become like a seller's market? Do you think there's a crash pending? How do you feel about this market now?
That's a great question. A lot of people are asking me, well, Betty, with driving these prices, are we going to go back to the 90s when you were helping a lot of people doing the foreclosures, But our appraisals are coming in. I myself haven't had a problem with the appraisal. But people are concerned that it's going to be driving the market up, and then all of a sudden it's going to crash, and these people are going to have these mortgages that are too high. I myself don't see that happening again. I don't think our government's going to let it happen again. That was just an awful situation back then. I mean, I helped a lot of people, and it was a very sad situation.
Yeah, in the worst case scenario, it sounds like if people have mortgages, but at least they're at a really good rate. So that's
it's free money. It's basically free money, So, if there's buyers out there, they're calling to buy, because right now at the interest rate, I can get them in a home, and really, I mean, their mortgage will be less than what they're paying for rent right now because of the 3%, and right now we're at 3.5%, about 3.5%.
So the buyers and sellers that are calling you today, have they changed their priorities? What are you hearing from them? What are they wanting now that's different than before?
Well, a lot of buyers, to be honest with you, they don't know they can afford to buy a home, or they come from a generation that their parents never bought, they rented, so they didn't know. And I just put a elderly man, family called me. He was 65 years old, never owned a home in his life. And he called me to rent in a certain area. And I said, well, look, let me see if I could get you with a lender. And we got him into a house less than what I was going to get him in for rent. And his family was so grateful for that. I mean, he's a first time homeowner and a senior, as a senior. Now, how awesome is that?
Wow, that's terrific. So you're offering other options and suggestions for folks that they may not have considered. Betty, tell us a little bit about your experience. What inspired you to get into real estate to begin with? What got you started?
Well, what happened was I was working for a lawyer doing paralegal work, and I was a single parent, and I was realizing, wow, on this income, how am I going to put my son through college? Because again, I wanted to start a different generation in my family and put my son and get him a good education, and so he can have things that I didn't have growing up. And I started talking to some of my clients, and one lady said, have you ever considered being a real estate agent? Because I think you'd be really good at it. I didn't even know what a real estate agent was when I was 20 years old. And she talked to me, and I went and spoke with a broker. They put me through real estate school, and here I am over 25 years later, being a real estate agent.
That's terrific. Betty, tell us, like, if today, what's your number one piece of advice if somebody was coming in as a buyer or a seller? Give us both, like your number one piece of advice that's more important today than ever before.
Well, my advice would be to talk to a real estate professional like myself so we can figure out what their goal is. A lot of people, when they come to me, they say, I want to list my house. And I say, well, where are you going next? They go, well, we don't know. So if I sell your house, which now it's going to sell in 3 days, where am I going to put you? So we need to make sure that they not only want to buy or sell a house, but what their ultimate goal is. Where do they want to go? And buyers, are you going to be in the area for 3 years or more? Because if you are, it'll be more financially and beneficial to you to buy a home than to rent.
Fantastic. Betty, for our listeners that are in your area in around Palm Springs and could use your help, how do they find you and connect with you?
So if there is a buyer out there that, has a solid job and decent credit, they are calling me, or they should be calling me. Call me today. And you could contact me at 760-250-9326. And feel free to call or text me, and I'll get back with you by the end of the business day.
Betty, this has been terrific. I appreciate your sage advice and sharing with our audience today. I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate helping the people out there.
This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where entrepreneurs and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. Join me next time on my next real estate market update. I'm Mark Imperial.